another Tom, Dick, or Dave. These are our Frenzy Faves.
Today, our Frenzy Faves is a favorite Twilight Zone episode.
So, Chris, tell us about the episode we're looking at today.
Thanks, Prof. We're looking at an episode entitled The Silence. This is from Season 2, Episode 25. It was directed by Boris Sagal, written by Rod Serling himself. The original air date was April 28th, 1961. For our cast, we have Franchot Tone as Archie Taylor, Liam Sullivan as Jamie Tennyson, Jonathan Harris as George Alfred, Cyril Delavante as Franklin, Everett Glass as a club member, and Felix Lauker as a club member, too. Prof, what happens in The Silence?
All right, so we meet a man, Jamie Tennyson. He's at his fancy, rich private club, and he's boring the assembled group with his business exploits. One man, older guy, Archie, has decided that Tennyson has been ruining his and everyone's time at the club. Against the wishes of his lawyer, Archie offers Tennyson a bet that he can't be silent for 1 full year. If he can, he'll pay him $500,000. Tennyson is having money troubles, and his wife loves fancy jewelry, so he accepts. So they build a silent set of rooms in the club basement, and the next day Tennyson gets in. As the year progresses, Archie visits Tennyson and tells him that if he gives up the bet now, he'd pay him $1,000. Or later, a couple months later, $5,000, $6,000, whatever. Archie tells him that his wife has been seen around town with a handsome young man, trying to get him to be jealous and kind of escape. But Tennyson stays firm and silent. Eventually, the year is up. Archie is accused by the folks in the club of telling Tennyson gossip about his wife, which is really out of bounds. That was unfair. But, even so, Tennyson won the bet. So blah, 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 you're a loser. So Tennyson emerges from the silent room and wants his money. Archie doesn't have it. He assumed Tennyson would fail, and now he has to explain to the club that he isn't as wealthy as he pretends. He agrees to quit the club and tells Tennyson, okay, Tennyson, now you can speak. But Tennyson pulls the scarf from around his neck, and there's a scar. He had his vocal cords surgically removed so he could ensure that he'd win the bet. Whoa. I really like this episode. I like the actors. I think that they really made it work. Sullivan's Tennyson is really good as a bore, and then is able to successfully regain the viewer's respect and sympathy as the show goes on. Archie is effective as the self-involved rich jerk who likes to play God with the lesser-bred people that he meets. And the lawyer, Archie's lawyer, was Jonathan Harris. And he was excellent as the I told you so lawyer. I told you shouldn't have made this bet, Archie. I found this story effective, and I got actually a lot of anxiety as the year passed. I was really wanting Tennyson to win this bet. And I don't know why, but because of that, I got to say, the story really grabbed me. I did have a couple of questions. If Tennyson only had 1 day before he had to be silent, how did he get vocal cord surgery and be in any shape to be isolated for a year? Also, what did Tennyson's wife have to say about this? Hey, hon, guess what? I'm going to be gone for a year. It seems like you'd need more than a day to get your affairs in order. And one thing I noticed, I don't know if I saw it or missaw it, I believe that this episode was set in the summer because he said, it'll take a year and in June 3rd or whatever, you can come back out. But there was a window in the club at the beginning of the episode, and as I first watched it, I thought it was snowing out, but maybe it was just rain. I can go back and check, but just a little curious thing. Chris, what did you think about The Silence?
Thanks, Prof. Having seen it just last night, yeah, it did look like snow to me as well, so I kind of wondered, when did this happen? I'm not sure when it started, but conceivably you can get snow in spring. Us being in the northern area, okay. we've had opening day of base MLB games being snowed out, so who knows. Moving on, trivia to get out of the way. Jonathan Harris also appeared in the episode 22 of Twilight Zone, and he's best known as Dr. Smith on Lost in Space. Cyril Delavante as the servant. He was also in A Penny for Your Thoughts. He was the guy who wanted to go to Bermuda, I think, and he also was in The Piano in the House.
Yeah.
Liam Sullivan also appeared in the Twilight Zone episode Changing of the Guard. Didn't have a big role, but he also appeared in that one. And he appeared in the Star Trek episode Plato's Stepchildren. And he has many, quote, that guy TV credits, including the original Hawaii Five-0. So perhaps we can cover this guy. I think I read in Mark Zakri's book, The Twilight Zone Companion. I'm not sure what that is, but I think I read somewhere, maybe it was in the book or somewhere else, that Tone got into a fight in a restaurant. I think he might have been trying to flirt with a girl. I don't want to misquote or attribute anything, though. But if I read it correctly, he got into a fight during the filming of this episode, and he had to have real heavy makeup applied to his face to hide his bruises. So just some of the things that happened behind the scenes there. One of the other things, too, that I thought was odd doing research for the episode was the age of the cast, because Harrison was in his mid-40s and Tone was in his mid-50s when they shot this episode. And both guys look much, much older than you would think, looking at them now from my lens. And I thought that was kind of unusual. One thing, too, that was unique is that we get this setting of a private men's club, like we did in the episode back there of Twilight Zone. And I'm wondering, is this still a thing? Because what do these guys do? They're just wealthy and they sit around and they talk about stocks, bonds, reading the newspaper. You can ring a bell and have the staff hand the note to the guy just across the room.
Yeah.
Just like, don't take it there yourself. That's too much of an impulse. We just, there's a little bell at everybody's little table there and they can ring it and just bring the man surfing over just to merely hand an envelope to somebody else like 10 feet away. So I thought that was kind of like a thing. Are private men's clubs still a thing? I don't know, but I think, wow, what a time and a place this is. Another note, unintentionally, we are dealing with episodes back to back that both deal with an insufferable man who talks too much, like we did with A Kind of a Stopwatch. And I think it's an interesting compare and contrast, because in this episode, I think Tennyson was much, much more ignored than McNulty was in A Kind of Stopwatch. I mean, in this episode, you see literally guys walking away from Tennyson as he's a guy having the conversation. Yeah. One guy goes off to a side, one guy walks to a easy chair and sits down, and they just don't want nothing to do. But Tennyson doesn't shut up. He keeps continuing with what he's saying. I like the way Sullivan's acting here. I like Tone's acting in this one too. There are little touches in this one. The one that always stays with me is when Tennyson walks out of the room and he does applaud. He takes a few steps and the rest of the club members applaud him, and he kind of gives a dignified nod. And then he slowly brings out his hand. Just in a way, it's like, okay, give me that check, because I've waited for this moment. And he just presents it to him. And then Tone just looks at the hand, and he looks up at Tennyson's face, and he gives the shocked glare, at that. And I really love that dramatic moment and how it was played out. I gotta say, when I first watched this as a kid, I distinctly remember watching this with my sister, and we both gasped audibly at the ending of this when he pulls down his ascot, and we see that the scar marks from the vocal cords were being removed with the surgery. That just blew us away as kids, and you wonder, wow, where does this go from here? I mean, so the bet is off, but look at what the price these both characters had to pay for this. Yeah. Really, really good stuff here. I think there was a lot of meat on the bone. It may not be the favorite of some other people. This did not have any sci-fi elements. This did not have any horror elements, which are trademarks of the Twilight Zone. But all that said, nonetheless, I still found it to be a compelling story. And I thought the acting was really, really good and up to the task with this. Some nuances, Prof. I think you brought up some good questions. I don't know how fast one could find a surgeon to sever vocal cords and what the recovery process would be like that. You bring up some interesting points, though. But just the cruelty that Tone's character does, Archie, with just the taunting on and on and on and on, and just the isolation that Tennyson had always made me wonder. I mean, where does this guy go to the bathroom? Where does he shower? Where does he clean up? And does he just stay in this glass booth and just read all day? I don't know how the poor guy passes time. And you've got microphones there, but I mean, can the guy watch TV? Can he listen to a radio? We don't know. I mean, there's just he's got to be immersed in silence, I guess, because we don't see these little pleasantries of audio that he can partake. I like. How does he do his podcast? Yes, indeed. But I like the determination, when he looks at the calendar and he points and he writes down, he says, nope, the bet stands. And to concise all of the events of 1 year into a half-hour episode, I thought it was done effectively well. Yeah. I liked it. It may not be other people's favorites, but I thought the acting was superior. And for sort of those one-off Twilight Zones, again, that didn't have any horror, sci-fi, or suspense, I thought it did have that shocker twist ending, and for that I applaud it. Good cast, good writing, marvelous episode in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I thoroughly enjoyed this one, and I think coming on the heels of the one last week with another boar, I think I preferred this one much more. Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, and this was totally unintentional. I really didn't know about the comparisons until this was being put together. It was not like we sought this out just to do a compare and contrast. But yeah, a good one and some really, really top-notch actors here.
I agree. So The Silence is one of our favorite Twilight Zone episodes.
Just another Tom, Dick, or Dave. These are our